please help us if you can. Like I said, call us at 678-730-0010 and give a donation. Every little bit helps. In fact, if you donate, we have a special offer that you can save. Let me just pull up that information up. Hold on. It's actually our next speaker. She has been generous and has given us is going to give a special offer to anybody who donates today. And that donation is going to give you save you 10% off your orders from March until April 30th with Macedo's Mini Acres. So this is a perfect introduction. Anybody who donates today is going to get a coupon code that they can save 10% off their purchase. So let me bring in our next guest. I've got too many screens up, everyone. Hi, Maureen. So nice to see you. You're gonna
there.
Are you going to do an unboxing of a new product for us?
I am, and I got to say thank you. I hope my appearance doesn't scare too much. The joys of chemotherapy. I'm saving on shampoo and mascara. So anyway, yeah, we've been working. We have a mill here in Turlock, California, and what we've been doing, see if I can get this right. We make coarse spun rug yarn. So, and I've been doing some dyeing. It's a fairly new product for us. It's alpaca or llama, and that's either Surrey or Wakaya alpaca. Coarse spun around a cotton core. Let's see if I can get this. I'm not so good on being on this end of the camera. Anyway, some new product. Let me see if I can get one of the bumps. So this has been pretty exciting. It's been going well. We do peg loom classes and that's what one of the natural, this is a rose gray and a black. Sorry, I'm trying to look at the screen and having some fun. Anyway, we put 100 yards on a bump, makes about a 2x3 rug. I do a lot of weaving on peg looms. I'm not the weaver that some of the other folks are. I do some basic stuff, but this is natural, and been having a lot of fun with this. So I've been doing a lot of macrame, doing handbags. See if I can get the right camera angle here. Trying to get me out of the picture and product in. I was hoping grandson and his girlfriend would come out and help, but who knows where the heck they are. We've got 10 acres and several barns to hide in. So this is one black and fawn.
I think you might have a setting on your camera where you have your background blurred.
Ah,
that's why we're
that
not.
Could be. Let's see if I can figure out where to.
Where it's there should be a little caret next to the video, and you can change your background there.
Okay, thanks. Let me see if I can find it. That would probably make sense. Aha.
Now your camera's off.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Now your camera's on.
There we go. Okay, thank you for that. Like I said, I'm not used to having the camera on when I do stuff. Oh yeah, much better. So get some light over here. So anyway, this has been a lot of fun, and shades of being a college student in the 70s. Did a lot of macrame back then. Also been working a little with backstrap looms. I'm using this as the weft. Makes kind of fun little belt or something, but been having a lot of fun with this. And so this is a new product for us, and got a lot of color combinations on our site. And like you said, we're offering a 10% discount on any item on our website from now until the end of next month. And I'll also throw in, if we get purchases on our website from this, we'll be donating to HGA. So do a double bonus there for HGA. They've been a really good program, and really appreciate everything that you do and all the fantastic folks that have been watching. Our guild, Sacramento Spinners and Weavers Guild, has something similar to the TED deal, and we had our open house beginning of February. And same thing, we had hundreds of people come in, got new people signed up. People are excited about learning how to spin and weave and use natural fiber. It's a big thing out here in California for sure. So it's another little colorway. So I said, we've got 16 colors of alpacas, and then that's not enough. So I do a lot of dyeing to boot. So you can see it's just wrapped around a cotton cord. Think about a mop with something wrapped around it. The other thing we've been doing is doing a lot of felting. We do have some felting as well. So we do felt sheets. These are great pads, and can use them. Alpaca and most natural fibers are heat resistant, fire retardant, wick away moisture. So it's a great item to use in front of a fireplace or on your lap. If you've got a laptop, because you're not supposed to have that directly on you. And using a lot of scraps. That's another item we've been working with. I'm still playing. I've got the felting machine going right now out in one of the barns. So that's kind of fun. What else? Oh, I had some fun last month with the Wicked movie out. I had to go with the colorways from that. So we have Gwenda Pink. We had the Yellow Brick Road. And we have Alphaba Green. I'm feeling like Alphaba right now. And that only I can't sing like Cynthia Erivo. So anyway, that's our new product that we've got. Let's see what else. We've got, it's an overcast day out here. We've been working a lot out in the mill. And let's see what else. We like to experiment, so I've given Larry some colored stuff. So, okay. And so this one is a Surrey. This is light and dark Surrey blend. Surrey alpaca are the ones that look like they have dreadlocks. So, and very drapey, this tends to be a tighter fiber on top of the string. So this one, if you are working with it, it tends to stay tighter. It does not felt quite as tight as what the Wakaya does. And of course, alpaca fiber works great if you're blending it with wool and other products. It's just a fabulous fiber. We've been in alpacas for over 20 years. Actually have my great grandmother's carding comb. So of course that was back with sheep. So I've been doing fiber for a long, long time. And I think somebody asked the other day about what to do with ribbons. And let me see if I can get that picture there. So we have, this is our store or fiber studio, and we put ribbons and banners all the way around. So in addition to the animals, we also do a lot of fiber art and fleece entries. So it's a lot of fun. And again, really appreciate everybody being there.
Maureen, you've done quite a bit with HG. Our relationship goes back quite a while in a variety of different ways.
Yes, it does.
Thank you for that. How has your relationship with HGA impacted your business?
Well, I tell you what, it's been a wonderful, positive thing, especially if COVID, like you said, it goes back a long ways, but it's been a way to connect with people all over the country and internationally as well. So it's given us a lot of positive feedback from people, helps us with not only sales, but with visits on bench and going to places, doing outreaches as well. So it's been a great group to be a part of. And we really appreciate everything that we've been able to do with you. So,
We appreciate everything that you've done as well. And we have a message here. It says, Maureen, it's great to see you. This is Gary. I'm going to dark. I can't spell. It's daughter. She says I visited you a while back.
Yeah. And I think Kathy asked about cleaning the rugs. lay them out on lawn furniture, get them wet, Dawn soap, rinse them off, let them dry. That's it.
Oh, wow. And
That's all
just to
you have to do.
reiterate, you are given a 10% discount for
Yep.
anyone who donates. And if you donate today, you'll receive an email with that from us with the coupon code so that you can go to Maureen's website and
Yeah.
make a purchase. And that's macedosminiacres.com.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Well,
thank you
thanks
so
so much.
much. And I look forward to seeing the next speakers coming up. It's been a great event so far.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to just keep on moving here. And our next guest is Beth Duncan. Beth Duncan's going to do a presentation on how to play with stripes here in just a minute, but we've got a couple minutes. So just a reminder, you can continue to donate. Emily put in the chat that we are now just $20 away from hitting that $4,000 mark. And I want to just reiterate, if you do not feel comfortable donating online, or if you don't want to donate by phone, you can also mail in a check. We will make sure that if we receive your check and if you put on there Fiber-A-Thon, we'll make sure it gets counted towards this event. So if you'd like to mail in a check, that's an option as well. Otherwise, give us a call or shoot us an email, donate online, and we can get that accounted for. So with that shared, we're going to go ahead and we're actually going to a little bit ahead here, which is unusual. So Beth, since you are ready, we're going to have you come on and do your presentation about playing with stripes. Welcome, Beth. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having us all. This has been fun to be thinking about. So I'm going to start off right away with sharing. Okay. Is that coming through, Elizabeth?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Okay, so my name is Beth Duncan. I live in Gurnee, Illinois, which is very, very northeast corner of Illinois, and I teach weaving and some improv quilting at Fine Line Creative Arts Center in St. Charles. So just wanted to get that name out there. And of course, we, as everyone here today, very much appreciate AGA and the association for everything fibery. So this is some experience that I've had with stripes, and let's get going. So for some of you weavers out there, if you have software, maybe you started as I did, and playing around with point twill and straight twill and seeing that you could make some warp stripes. But of course, there's more. Because as soon as you start to add color, those stripes really come alive, and it's a lot more fun. Whether you are doing stripes in your warp like this with very vivid colors, fully saturated, with a neutral background, very successful. Or in this draft, doing sort of the same thing, except these stripes have stripes within them so that they look more like Christmas ribbons. And then one of the things I like to play with is the A and B block in turned twill. So that's what's making these little ribbons stop and start down the length of the towel. And here's some more turned twill. The color stripes do not line up with the structure, and sometimes that makes a very interesting cloth. As weavers, a lot of times when we start putting in stripes and structure in the warp, we want to do that same thing in our weft. It's just a natural reaction, I think, called weave as drawn in or trompe as writ, and you get something rather nice looking. However, for me, I like to play around a little bit more with things that are not trompe as writ. So I might start out with colors like these, closely related colors, and expand the threading so that I can weave towels. I love to weave towels because the experimentation that you can do on a towel warp, it just goes on, and I don't have to have any two towels the same. So a lot of times it could be turn twill as it is here, or plain weave, or I also use overshot and crackle quite a bit. Now, if I was to take that warp that you just saw and weave it trampes writ, this is what you would get. A pretty little pattern, a little tartan-ish, because certainly that's how tartan is done as well. But for me, I would rather start to play with warp sequences and colors. This is an example in this, this is just the draft, of course, but taking the colors that are in the warp, using those same colors in the weft, but doing different stripe sequences. Now, what I mean by stripe sequence, over on the left side there, you'll see 4/4. That means that there are 4 bright green and then 4 teal, 4 bright green, 4 teal. And that number of picks is repeated. And that's what I would call my stripe sequence. Down below is a 7/1, 7 teal, and then a dark blue, 7 teal and a dark blue. Here it is again in a 1-for-1, one pick one color alternating with another. So you can have skinny stripes like this. You could have wider stripes and of course an infinite number of stripe combinations. Now in this last one, 12-4, so there's 12 green, 4 bright green, and then I just reversed it down here. Now this to me, if I was to go start weaving on a towel warp such as this might be something I would be playing with on my first towel. Here are some wider weft stripes, makes the pattern and the towel cloth much simpler looking, and sometimes people like that. Or here's another way to come about stripes. This is something I do in a class called Color Fun Towels. And we'll do just as this exercise this example is showing you. Again, this is the same warp that I started with a couple slides ago, but now I have taken a couple colors from the warp and added a couple new colors that are not in the warp and used all those for the weft. Some of the similar stripe sequences that you just saw, some of them are different. The colors that I have added here, now you'll remember the original warp was primarily blue and green. Well, if you go on the other side of green, you go into some yellows and golds. If you go on the other side of blue, you'll get into purple. So I added some dark purple and added a soft yellow and a gold color, and then just a couple of colors from the warp, and that's what I got. And here is the same sequences, but now all of the colors in the weft are different than the warp. And I think as weavers, this is something that doesn't really occur to us all the time, that, you know, our weft colors don't have to be the same. It's still a plaid. We're still using stripes, and the results I think are quite interesting. And here's a side by side. So you can see stripe sequences are the same in towel 2 and towel 3, and the colors are different. Okay, so then remember when I was mentioning the block B in the threading and treadling at the beginning, that comes out as a little 1-3 square in this towel if I add it. I like that little bit of added texture. So this is a towel from one of my students, and this is, of course, towel number 3, where she does not use any of the colors from her warp for her weft. And the stripes are limited to the borders at the end of the towel. I think that's quite striking. Here are some more examples. These towels were done primarily in plain weave and then narrow stripes in 3-1 twill. And of course, when you set that up and you are dressing your loom, the 3-1 twill needs to be slayed a bit denser, right, than the plain weave. Here's another example. The orange and the pink and some of the other colors were not in the warp, but they show up and it's a fun result. Here's some more. Notice the stripes at the bottom, again, the pink and the orange are done very narrow in that bottom towel because those are such strong colors. Just need a little bit. Here's a close-up. Here's a student's towel when she was starting and same colors in the weft as the warp. Here's a student's work in one of my overshot classes. Lots of stripes going back and forth. And here's a piece done in primary colors. It's just the draft, of course. But notice the different sizes of stripes in warp and weft. And last year, Dorothy Liebs came out with a great book. Dorothy Liebs was an interior designer and weaver. She loved to use a little bit of twill, lots of plain weave, and would use a lot of texture in her yarns. So my thought here was to do my towels like I love to do, and it's in turn twill, but have pseudo texture, have texture that's really just from the stripes and the twills, and see what happens when they overlap. And this is my last slide. Crackle is another structure that I love to use. This is the same draft for all of these towels, but just doing them in different colors in the warp and seeing what happens to those stripes. Some of them mute to the background, some of them stand out and are more of a focal point. So that is the end of that. And I don't know if we have time for questions.
We have about a minute, but I don't see any questions. Somebody did ask for the name of the artist you mentioned, Dorothy Liebs, which we put in the chat.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, yes.
So nope, we don't have any questions. Thank you so much for sharing that information. I have only woven something once besides pot holders, and I can understand why tension is so important from that one experience on my loom as a kid, because my scarf went from one width all the way to another because I did not have very good tension. But I give myself credit. I was only 10. So thank you so much for sharing that. And
absolutely my pleasure. And good luck on your event.
Thank you. We couldn't do it without you and everybody else who's speaking here today. And just a reminder to all of you, this is going to be recorded. You can watch it on our Facebook page. Facebook has a new rule where they're only going to leave live videos up for 30 days. After that, it comes down. But we have a YouTube channel, and all of this will be put on our YouTube channel so you can watch it there. So if you missed something, you weren't able to stick with us all day, feel free to watch the recording. I have a question though. How many of you who are watching have been with us since we started at 12 o'clock Eastern time? So we've been doing this now for almost 3.5 hours. If you've been with us for that entire time, please put something in the chat or give us that thumbs up. Great. Thanks for sticking with us. It's going to be a long day, so we're curious to see who can stick around the longest. All right. So our next presenter is Patricia Martin. I'm sorry, we just had Patricia Martin. It's Marcia Weiss. She is a former board member. And let me see if we've got her here. Marcia, are you with us?
It is Patricia that's next, Liz.
Oh, that is Patricia. Sorry, that's right. That was Beth Duncan on Playing with Stripes. Sorry. It's been, see, that time frame is getting me off. I'm getting a little loony already. All right, so Patricia Martin, I apologize. You're going to talk about tension. Now I know why Beth looked at me so funny. Hi, Patricia. How are you? It's been a while.
I'm unmute. There we go.
There we
Hello,
go.
hello.
And you're going to talk about tension at the loom.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon to everybody at HGA for giving me the opportunity to present one of my favorite parts of weaving. Like I said, I'm Patricia Martin from San Luis Obispo, California, and I teach beginners to weave. Today, I wanted to share with you 5 tips for threading your loom using tension. I don't mean tension in your shoulders or your neck or even your back. I mean in preparing threads to thread your petals. Keep in mind, we want to thread to our strengths. Sorry, back there. Thread to our strengths. I like to break every part of the weaving process down into smaller tasks. We know the 5 parts it takes to weave, but let me share with you how I think of them. The first is the design. You get a new weaving magazine like ss&D, Handwoven, Heddlecraft, or soon to be published Weft, and you dream. You select your next project, plan out the colors, draft, heddle count, etc. Once you've wound your warp, you dress your loom. Next, you weave, weave, weave. When that is done, there is the final step of correcting the errors, trimming threads, twisting, rolling, and tying. Then you dip it into water, dry, block, sew, and show it proudly. Those are the 5 steps of parts of weaving. The order of importance, images would say it's the weaving, but every weaver has one part that just speaks to them intimately. The truth is, all parts are important. So we must recognize that to recognize that it is good to weave to our strengths. There are arguments about threading from back to front or front to back. To me, it does not matter, as long as it gets you to the part you enjoy. Or maybe it's the part that is the part you enjoy. If you come to a part you're holding back, think of a game or a challenge yourself. Make it fun. I can throw the ball to my pup if I spend 20 minutes winding one warp chain. Or my favorite still is I sit at the loom and I throw the shuttle for 10 minutes each day before I go to work. 10 yards weaves off quickly, and I am surprised at how fast it went. I always want to weave more then, which leads me to today's topic, tension at the loom. I'm not talking about the stressful kind of tension, but the control of threads as you thread the loom. This sounds simple enough, except sometimes we want to take shortcuts that take us longer to do the parts that are not always our favorite. With these tips, my hope is that the job of threading becomes one of your favorite parts of the weaving process. So I have distilled in my preparations of the I have distilled my preparations of the loom down and give you 5 tips for threading after I have the warp on the loom. If I am threading front to back, I secure the warp to the front beam. I make sure to give myself a long enough lead to go through the heddles and tie into groups. This gives me something to pull against or tension to work from. The images I will be sharing are those when I've threaded from back to front and the warp is already on the back beam. The first tip I have for you is to focus. Focus on what you are doing. Sometimes that's easier said than it's done, but you can focus. Is your lighting good? Can it be focused on a direct point? Have your threading written out. Yes, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but maybe there's a color sequence like the one in the photograph. Please make sure to remove or dismantle parts of the loom that you may have to work over or under in order to thread. It really only takes a few moments to remove the front or back beam, remove the beater, or at least the top bar and the reed. And when you are hanging or setting your lee sticks, have them so the warp hangs over the farthest bar from you. This way you can see all of the threads. Tip 2. Once you have yourself set up, the next few steps just make threading go smoothly. This trick to threading the heddles, even with eye issues, is to have your heddles and your working threads in one straight line. To do this, you can place a piece of wood under the shafts, tie up shafts, or place weights on treadles. Whatever works easiest for you and your loom. For those that treadle the threading, this is essentially what this setup is doing, but now you are closer to the shafts. Comfort is tip 3. Now you've got your light next to you, your beam, your reed, and your beater are out of the way, and your shafts are raised. This tip is to find the right seat. The goal is to be eye level with the heddles. This can be accomplished by using a comfortable seat that is lower than your loom bench. Some of my students use an exercise ball, an adjustable shower chair, a library stool, or depending on the loom, just a plain folding chair. Body ease. That's tip 3. Now that back to tip 4. How about that? Tip 4, you are ready to thread your loom. You have everything, you have your threading directions at eye level, right in front of you. Your heddles are counted. You settle in. This is where we pause. This tip is to set your timer for 20 minutes. By getting up every 20 minutes, your body will not freeze in one position, and you will be able to continue longer in the overall task. Now for the final step. Tip 5, tension your threads. The title of this quick talk is finally the last tip. When you hold your threads slightly taut, move smoothly from your hand through the eye of the heddle and wait, the eye of the heddle, and wait to be grouped as needed. It becomes one smooth motion rather than many. As new students master this motion, they become very fast at threading both thick and thin threads. Putting the beam, the reed, and top bar back on becomes quick work to prepare for weaving. After all, that's the part that got them to sign up for a class to begin with. One side note is tie up your treadles before you place your beam, your bars, and your reed back on the loom. So to review, the 5 tips I'm giving are to set up with good light, remove your beams and bars for easy access to your heddles. 2 is to raise your shafts to create eye level. 3 is to lower your seat to keep everything at one level. And 4 is body ease, which means getting your timer set. And for me, that sometimes means putting it across the room so that I literally have to get up to get it. And 5 is tension your threads for one smooth motion in order to go through the heddles. Finally, hopefully I've given you more than one good tip to practice at the loom. In fact, I hope I have given you 5 tips. I ask that you consider what each tip should be worth. I know that they are each worth at least $1 to support HGA's Fiber-A-Thon. But please consider what I have said and of the value and donate. Because weaving to your strength is supporting HGA. Thank you. I think that was somehow.
Yep, we got everything. Thanks, Patricia. That's great. And thank you so much for encouraging people to donate $5. Every little bit adds up. And, it's amazing how small things can add up to a great thing. And I am sure that everybody who just watched this is going to take those tips away and really appreciate that. And we appreciate you for sharing with us and encouraging people to give. So thank you so much for that. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Okay, so we are on to our next presenter, and that is a former board member. It is Marcia Weiss. She's also at Thomas Jefferson. Hi, Marcia. So great to have you. You're going to talk about the power of community.
I am. Yes. Thank you so much for having me. And my apologies to everyone who's been calling me in the last 10 minutes going, where are you? So yeah, meetings. Anyway, I want to go ahead and share my screen. So bear with me one moment here, and I will get all set up. And we're going to do slideshow. Slideshow from the beginning. Okay, so I'm hoping you're seeing the power of community. I decided to talk about this when I thought about what I could talk about, because honestly, in academia, we can all talk about pretty much nothing for a very long
Marcia?
time if we choose. Yes.
You're in presenter view. We're seeing both your slide and your
Oh,
one.
let's see. How do I change that?
You
Let's see. Swap presenter view and slideshow. How about
Yeah.
this?
that works.
Does that work? Fantastic. Thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate that. Because I don't want you to know what's coming up. So, so anyway, power of community. When I think about HGA and when I think about my really incredibly fortunate career, community is what keeps coming up. And so I was thinking before Convergence in 2010, which was in Albuquerque, I was thinking about what my next body of work was going to be. And interestingly, I put this together before I read Penny's letter in the most recent Shuttle Spindle and Die Pot from the spring, when she essentially said nothing right now is on her looms and she's kind of open to what's coming next. So I wasn't really thinking about my next body of work, but I had gone ahead and I'd signed up for a bunch of really amazing workshops and seminars in Albuquerque at Convergence. And so I was driving to work and I was right at this intersection. I have about an hour-long drive to work. And I realized that the things I had signed up for all centered around ECOT in some way. I wasn't even conscious that I was thinking about ECOT, but the courses that seemed really interesting to me all touched on ECOT. So at Convergence in Albuquerque, I took a brilliant workshop with Barbara Setsu Pickett on velvet weaving. It was an amazing workshop. She's a brilliant teacher, brilliant leader. And in that workshop, sitting in the row in front of me, was Virginia Davis. And Barbara acknowledged Virginia as one of the foremost ECOT artists in the world and certainly in the US. And I am enough of a New Yorker that I reached out to Virginia and introduced myself and said, could we please have lunch? So she was so gracious, so open, and let me pick her brain over lunch about her body of work and ECOT and how she found her way into it and ECOT globally. At the same Convergence conference, I also had signed up to take this Uzbek ECOT class, workshop, seminar with Barbara and Virginia and Anna on researching as a team. So this is where this ECOT Odyssey started for me. And I apparently came home, I've gone through my sketchbooks. I apparently came home and on August 2nd, I laid out my first ECOT. So Convergence was mid to late July, and I came home and focused on what am I going to do? Because of course, how challenging can this be, right? I mean, it can't be that hard. Yeah, the naivety that I had, but I also had this amazing joy and this amazing amount of inspiration from Convergence, and I wanted to jump directly into it, and I did. Was my first piece brilliant? No, not at all. I learned a lot, and I continue to learn a lot. But this was the start of this odyssey, and now, nearly 15 years later, I sit here still pursuing this real love of ECOT because of the community of HGA. So that was 2010. 2012, we were in Long Beach. Beautiful site, loved Convergence there. And now I was consciously signing up for ECOT workshops because I realized there was so much for me to learn. So I took an ECOT class with Virginia Davis, and in that workshop, Mary Zickafoos was also taking the class. And Virginia mentioned Mary, kind of called her out as, you know, kind of, I'm not sure what you can learn from me, but Mary was in the class, and we had the benefit of learning from not only Virginia, but also from Mary in this workshop. And I look at these workshops as the opportunity to learn from people who know so much and are so brilliant at what they do. And so Virginia had been a friend. Mary is a friend. I'm very thankful to count her amongst my wonderful community of creative people that inspire me. So I've done some ECOT work. I tend to do a lot in double cloth or double weave. So 2 layers of ECOT, usually warp ECOT, sometimes weft ECOT, sometimes double ECOT. So this is a piece called Pendulum Fusion. And this is a group of pieces that I've done. This is all single cloth. This is called 9 Patch, which was done for a Textile Society conference down in Savannah. But it all has continued to work toward me and this wonderful community of makers, of creative, collaborative people. Many of you might know both Sue and Kathy. These are 2 of my very dear friends who we have united over our love of weaving. And we've had the opportunity to do 2 or 3 shows together. This is from a show at Newark Arts Alliance in Newark, Delaware. And what we have found is when we have the great opportunity to be together, we learn so much from each other and we inspire each other and we laugh a lot. And there's great joy. To me, that's what weaving and community are. They're great moments of joy for me. These are 3 slightly more recent pieces. I'm a full-time academic and a part-time weaver. I spend as much time in my studio at home as I can, but sometimes those moments are few and far between. But this creative community in which we live also connected me with Carol Ireland. So Carol came to campus and I'm in Philadelphia. Carol came to campus and shared her knowledge and experience with our students and faculty, her knowledge on natural dyeing. And through Carol took a trip with Marilyn Ramatka, who runs brilliant folk art tours into Uzbekistan, but also into other parts of the world. Carolyn was on a tour with Marilyn. Marilyn was lamenting the fact that the process for ECOT making is really not brilliantly documented. And Carol said to Marilyn, I know somebody who you should get to know. So Carol connected me with Marilyn. We had a discussion of whether or not this would make an interesting PhD for me. It would make an interesting PhD, but I honestly don't have the time. And still, she connected us, and that led to this. These are, so Marilyn is in here, and those of you who've had the luxury of traveling with her, you might also recognize Azat, our in-country guide in Uzbekistan. We were there less than 2 weeks ago. So these are students and one of my colleagues and I. We had this amazing opportunity to be immersed in the creative community in Uzbekistan. Amazing artisans. And here are some of my new friends from this trip. Wonderfully talented people who could reel silk in amazing ways, do super finely knotted rugs, ECOT weaving. The weaver on the right-hand side, this is Fatima, and she's doing velvet ECOT. So amazingly talented. And now these people are part of my community. And with that, I really just want to say thank you to HGA. If it wasn't for HGA, this community of people would not exist. And so I also encourage everyone, please continue to support this organization. It means so much to so many of us, not just here, but across the globe. So with that, I'm going to say thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. It took me a second to get my my computer has so many things going on. It's very slow. Thank you for that and sharing that sense of community. I mean, that's something I feel like we hear time and time again from our members is just that community, being able to connect, being able to actually meet people and talk to them. And you've been involved in all kinds of different ways with us as well. So we can always
So-
count on you. And you also encourage your students to become interns for Convergence. And they've been some fantastic students. One of them now Rachel has her own company, Weaver House, who we work with as well. So I mean, it just keeps paying it forward.
Truly. So thank you. My thanks to everyone at HGA and on the HGA board and to all of the HGA members because you create this amazing legacy and I think there's ways for all of us to pay it forward.
So I
thank
actually
you.
have a couple minutes. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to be a board member and why people should consider board service?
I was so honored when I was asked to serve on the board. I thought this, like, it's not real. I'm actually being asked to do this thing. It's amazing. It was a fantastic opportunity to help kind of move the organization forward. And it's a working board. It's not a board only in name. It's a working board. You get to see kind of the insides of things and figure out how you can help move things forward, both with what's going on in the world and with your own interests. I stepped off after 3 years because honestly, my career does not give me the time that I wish it did to be more fully involved at this point in time. But in the future, I'm hoping the board will welcome me back. So truly, it's a great collaborative group of people and it expands your community. And that's the thing that I think as I get older, community is the thing that I really spend more time thinking about is how do I surround myself with the people that bring me such great joy? And HGA is a really wonderful opportunity to do so. So consider board membership, consider donating. Please support this organization. We all need it.
Well, Marcia Penny Morgan, our current board president, she just consider yourself welcome.
I can't do it yet, Penny. I'm still working. So
we're counting down the days until you retire.
So yeah, not quite there yet, but yeah, truly, it's a brilliant organization, and I want to make clear that although I couldn't make it work with my current job, that doesn't mean you can't make it work with your current job. So if you're at all interested, it's worth finding out more.
Yeah, we do host board Q&As as well, which are Zooms that people can come on and ask questions about board service and what it takes and, just try it out. Anything you want to know beforehand. Usually your first year you're appointed. So it gives you that opportunity to say, hey, this is great. I want to stay on, put me up for election, or oh, this is more than I thought I could take on. So why don't you, 1 year appointment was enough. And that's whichever works for you, we respect. And it's hard to balance. I mean, my life is this job. I feel like this is my dog. So I don't have much time for an outside life sometimes. And there's so many other areas I'd love to volunteer. So we appreciate everybody who volunteers. So thank you so much for that, Marcia. We greatly appreciate it and appreciate you for making time in that busy day to be here.
Well, thanks so much.
Okay, so we're going to keep going forward. We've got one more presentation before our next donation update. So I'd like to welcome Suzanne Suzanne, how do you say your last name? I don't want to butcher.
Hokanson.
I was going to say it correctly. Well, thank you for being here. You recently completed an exhibit for your grant project for the New York State Council on the Arts called Plattsburgh Works, a hand-woven celebration of local products and the workers who create them. So we're excited to hear about it. Thanks for being here.
Well, good. Well, it's wonderful to be here. I too have been a member of HGA for many years. I've been weaving for well over 40 years. So, it's been a very supportive organization all the way along, from the magazine to the slideshows, the guild meetings, and everything. So thank you. And thanks for the opportunity to share what I've been doing. A lot of us started years ago with these simple little potholder looms. I don't know if I could get hands up. How many of you fell in love with weaving on your little potholder loom? Well, a few years ago, a friend of mine, when we were living in Savannah, told me about a group called the Weaving Way Community that led by Kate Kilmurray out of California. And they're a very supportive community that encourages all kinds of weaving on these little looms. And Kate encouraged me to talk with a group about my idea of weaving with other materials other than loopers. Having been weaving for over 40 years, you know, we accumulate lots of yarns and stuff. And I started thinking about what it would be to weave with that stuff. And when we moved back up here to Plattsburgh, New York, I met a young woman who had a grant with the New York State Council of the Arts and talked with her. And she suggested that I apply for a weaving grant through New York State Council of the Arts. So I'm going to share a little PowerPoint that I put together of some of the Potholder Pro weavings that I did for this exhibit and the grant. So let's see if I can share it. Did it come up okay?
Yes, we do see it. You might want to go in. There you go. Perfect.
There we go. Okay. So I'll close out of that. Whoops. Now I've gotten rid of it again. Technology is not.
You're still in a screen share. So if
Is it up? I don't see
if
it.
we're not seeing it, we're just seeing a black screen. So you might want to stop your screen share altogether. Do you see on the toolbar where you can click and stop share?
Okay, and I don't see it on my, wouldn't you know? Let's see if I can get it back up.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So this is one of the weavings that I created with the New York State Council of the Arts Support for Artists grant. It was $10,000 that allowed me the opportunity to buy a loom that I could use and take to my sponsoring organization. It allowed me to do an weaving residency near Asheville. It allowed me to get the materials that I needed to support the things that I was going to weave. The way I started is I sent a letter to Megan Charlene, who's the director of the Strand Center for the Arts here in Plattsburgh. And what I proposed was that I would contact area businesses to get their scrap that then I would repurpose into woven pieces. I thought it would be an interesting way to feature local businesses and also the workers who create the wide range of goods, and also a way to keep the stuff out of the dump. I visualized a sea of multicolored long banners that I call totems hanging from the center of the Strand gallery that visitors would be able to wind their way through, as well as weaving several wall pieces. The weaving residency allowed me the opportunity to weave in 3D, which is something I had always been interested in, taking my flat weaving into something three-dimensional. I had the loom that I purchased in the gallery where I could demonstrate and offer workshops, and I documented the process with professional photos. That was also part of the grant. This is the exhibit as it started, and you can see off to the side the Potholder Pro woven pieces. Here is an overview of all of them. So I got to play with the Potholder Pro. This is one of the first ones I did for Monahan Medical. Some of you who used inhalers may know Monahan Medical as the makers of your inhalers. And you can see that I use gaskets that I cut and added into the weaving, kind of like raya pieces, and I wove in other gaskets. I attached the gaskets together. So when I took it off the loom using the traditional loop-de-loop type of ending on all four sides, it got kind of wonky, which was kind of fun. This is one I did for Schluter Systems. Some of you may have tiled your kitchen or your bathroom and used some of their products. This is an aluminum strip. This is a grid that's kind of on a paper-like product, and this is a plastic. I got to weave this on the back of our sailboat in the summer because I was weaving this wherever and whenever I could. But it kind of shows you how portable these wonderful little looms are. This was one for Doyle sails, where I incorporated sail material and binding and pieces that are used when you put together sails. Alstom makes train cars, subway cars, buses. They didn't have a whole lot of scrap. They had some wires that we found when we did some dumpster diving. But I got to go on the floor, and when you go on the floor, you have to wear a hard hat and you have to wear a reflective vest. And they gave it to me to take home, so I cut it up and used it as part of the pieces in the weaving for the Potholder Pro piece, as well as the piece I did, the longer pieces that I did. Here I am weaving in the car. So not only on the back of the boat, but also on a car you can weave. And you can see some of the pieces that were incorporated. This is one for North Titanium. North Titanium melts down titanium rods, and that's what these are. And 3D prints them for medical and military use. So I had the rods. They also had the strapping that held the rods together that they gave me. And they gave me a promotional umbrella. And then I took the fabric and wove it into the pieces that I created. This is one for AQ Wiring. They do wiring for buses. Who knew that buses had these extensive wiring that go through them? They have tables set up with patterns for the workers to follow to put the wiring in just the right way, and each of these wires has numbers on them. You can see that this one is finished off with hem stitching that I sometimes use. Here I am weaving again on the back of the boat. This is for Syntube. Syntube uses all kinds of different tubing, copper, stainless steel. This is a big stainless steel piece that's been cut so it became a circle. And then these are some more of the strapping. These are, as I said, all the colors that I chose, and I used, I think, cookies and cream cotton yarn as most of my warp and weft in the colors of their particular logos. Parker Family Maple Farm, Laura Parker took me out to the back 40 where they had this massive mound of the tubing that runs from tree to tree with these connectors. And we pulled out some in different colors. This was IEC Holden, who make machine. And in the center, you'll see solder that she collected off the floor for me, and kinky wiring that had been part of making the motors. And then you see fabric. And what's interesting about IEC Holden, a lot of our companies up here are Canadian based and also in Plattsburgh, New York. And because they're a Canadian company, IEC Holden gives all of their 1 year lasting employees a hockey jersey to become part of the team. So somebody had left their jersey, and they gave me a jersey which I cut up and wove into the pieces. This again is hem stitched, leaving the loops.
Suzanne, I hate to cut you off, but we are over on time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I've put the link to your exhibit in the chat. So if somebody
Oh,
wants to
thank you. Sorry, I rambled on.
That's okay. So we are going to give an update on where we are with donations because it is now 4 o'clock. We've been doing this for 4 hours. You might want to stop and stretch your legs if you haven't done so already. So let's take a look and see where we're at. Are we ready for this?